Ethan always thought he knew everything about Claire. They had been married for 6 years, sharing a small suburban house that had seen more arguments than birthdays. On the surface, everything seemed normal. Dinner together, occasional weekend outings, the polite, "How was your day?" routine. But Ethan had noticed the subtle cracks forming over the past year. Little things. Her phone constantly buzzed. She started guarding her laptop like it contained state secrets. And sometimes, when he asked a simple question, she'd freeze, blink too long and answer vaguely, as if carefully rehearsing her words. It wasn't dramatic at first. No yelling, no explosive fights. Just a growing sense that something was shifting. Something invisible, yet undeniable. Ethan tried to push it aside, convincing himself he was being paranoid. He wanted to trust Claire. He had promised himself he would never become the controlling husband. But the gut feeling, that quiet whisper in the back of his mind, grew louder each day. That's when he made a decision. Not out of spite, not out of anger, but out of clarity. He needed to see the truth for himself. No assumptions. No third-party stories. Just reality. So he installed security cameras in their house, subtle, hidden cameras that recorded the living room, the kitchen, the hallway. He didn't tell Claire, didn't leave clues. To the outside world, everything remained normal. Claire continued her routine, blissfully unaware that every action, every little movement, would be captured. The first week felt ordinary, almost anticlimactic. Claire cooked, cleaned, scrolled on her phone. Nothing overt. But then small behaviors started to appear. Slight evasions, secretive whispers during phone calls, pauses that felt too long to be coincidental. Ethan watched, careful not to let suspicion cloud judgment, taking mental notes as each pattern emerged. He realized that this wasn't about some grand betrayal. It was about the little inconsistencies, the subtle dishonesty that slowly erodes trust. One evening he watched as Claire laughed at a message on her phone. A laugh that was too light, too private for him. She tucked the phone close, as if hiding it from the universe. Ethan felt the familiar ache of suspicion, but also a strange clarity. For the first time, he wasn't guessing. He was seeing the world exactly as it was. And what he saw next, the thing he wasn't prepared for, would change everything. Over the next few days, Ethan watched in silence. Claire's movements became a pattern he could almost predict. She left for errands at the same time each morning, returned with a carefully casual air, and spent hours on her phone or laptop. At first, he tried to rationalize everything. Maybe she was just stressed, maybe work was demanding. But one night, everything shifted. It was after dinner. Claire had claimed she needed to work late on a project, and Ethan stayed in the living room pretending to read. From his vantage point, he saw her sitting on the couch, phone in hand, texting someone with a grin that didn't belong to him. Not a casual smile, not a friendly laugh. This was something else entirely. She shifted, leaned closer to the screen, whispered words he couldn't hear but knew were intimate. Ethan's stomach tightened. He swallowed hard, reminding himself to stay calm. This wasn't about confronting her in the moment. He needed evidence, clarity, a full picture before doing anything. He rewound the footage, watched it frame by frame. Every subtle glance, every secretive touch of her phone, became a piece of the puzzle. The betrayal wasn't cinematic. It wasn't shouting or dramatic confrontations. It was quiet, almost invisible, like smoke curling through cracks in a wall. That subtlety made it worse. He realized that he had been living alongside a stranger, one who had perfected the art of pretending. She still smiled at him, cooked his favorite meals, maintained the rhythm of their life. But underneath, she had carved out a hidden existence that didn't include him. Ethan felt a mix of anger, hurt, and a strange detachment. He knew he had to act, but not recklessly. Claire couldn't know that he had installed cameras, couldn't know he was watching. Any misstep would alert her, and then the game would be over. He started taking notes, cataloging times, messages, interactions. He began to see the invisible threads connecting her actions. A network of deception she didn't realize he was untangling. Yet, in the quiet of the night, he also felt a twinge of sadness. They had once laughed together until their sides hurt. She had once been the woman he fell in love with, the one who shared his dreams, his hopes, his vulnerabilities. Now he realized, she was someone else entirely. And Ethan knew, with a chilling clarity, that the next steps he took would not just be about discovering the truth. They would be about reclaiming control over a life he thought he shared, only to realize he had to protect himself first. A week later, the evidence became impossible to ignore. Ethan watched as Claire received a package at the door, small, discreet. Yet the way she handled it immediately set off alarms in his mind. She glanced around, made sure no one was watching, and slipped it inside a drawer she rarely used. Later that evening, he saw her on a video call, laughing and whispering in a tone that was intimate, personal, and entirely excluded him. Every detail compounded the realization. The stolen moments, the hidden messages, the secret smiles, they all painted a picture he had been too afraid to admit before. Ethan felt his pulse quicken, but he didn't panic. He had been here before in thought, anticipating, preparing for a confrontation that hadn't yet arrived. This time, he would act, but he would do it on his terms. He began making quiet adjustments. Passwords were changed. Accounts, credit cards, and sensitive files were secured. He set up a discreet system for documenting everything without leaving a trace. Ethan wasn't planning revenge yet. He was planning clarity. He needed the truth, undeniable and unalterable, before any words were exchanged. That night, he watched Claire move around the house, unaware that her every action had been observed and recorded. She talked to friends on the phone, laughed too freely, flirted subtly without a hint of awareness that he knew. Ethan realized this was a game of control she didn't even know he was playing. And in that moment, he decided he would no longer be a passive participant. As days passed, Ethan began to feel something he hadn't expected, a strange empowerment. The fear, the anxiety, the sleepless nights, they began to fade, replaced by something sharp, precise, a calm determination that he hadn't felt in months. Claire might continue her double life, her secret flirtations, her hidden indulgences, but Ethan now had the upper hand. He had knowledge, preparation, and patience on his side. And then it happened. One evening, Claire thought she was alone in the living room, texting him something innocent, unaware that Ethan was watching from the footage. Her reaction to a message, her tone, her subtle gestures, it all confirmed his worst suspicions. Ethan leaned back, silent, heart steady. He finally understood the reality of their marriage. It had been hollow on her side for months, maybe longer. And now, with everything laid bare, he could decide what came next. Not out of anger, not out of impulsive emotion, but with full control over his own life.